listening to Second Cut. This is the podcast where we talk about topics in film, criticism, theory, I don't know, whatever else I say here. Film stuff. I'm Jacob, and I'm the one who, likes to listen to tunes while I sit around just living my day-to-day life.
I'm Sam, and I'm the one who partook in a chicken parmesan, not knowing it wasn't vegan.
I'm Kieran. I'm the one who probably would actually be quite happy having Anya Taylor-Joy as my alter ego.
Yeah,
Let's be fair.
we have considered replacing Kieran with her, but she hasn't responded to our emails.
I'll be perfectly honest. If Anya Taylor-Joy wants to come on, I will gladly step down.
Look, Anya Taylor-Joy, if you're listening, Anya, I think we can call you that. Feel free, come on anytime.
Miss Taylor-Joy.
Miss Taylor-Joy.
Miss Harmon, world champion.
My glasses were all foggy, but I'm good now. We are talking about Edgar Wright a little bit early. The schedule, it doesn't really permit doing it precisely with the topics we want to cover. But we're for The Running Man that is out next week, Sam.
Yeah,
next week. I thought it was this week, but it's next
yeah,
week.
you Google it, and sometimes it says on the 7th. I don't know whether it comes out in the US on the 7th, the UK on the 14th. Maybe, I don't know. I'll double check.
I don't.
Out soon.
Yeah, out soon. Edgar Wright movie, and in that honor, we are doing some Edgar Wright films, and specifically his what is it? The Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy films.
Yeah. Well, we generally thought everyone's seen those, and everyone pretty much likes them, except for maybe World's End. So we thought, we'd give the other films in this filmography to date a bit of
That, and I think everyone's kind of already done the Cornettos. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe I think for Brits especially, that they're probably the first two at the very least are two of the most quotable films ever. I mean, just so many lines just get dropped into conversations with my friends on a day-to-day basis.
Just yarp, I walk into work every day and go, "Morning, Angles." So,
change the record.
Well, I guess we could just kind of get into him generally. For me, he's just a very stylish director whose movies I like. I just think of him more in terms of like genre deconstruction and making entertaining films. Yeah,
he's probably got more of more affection over here really, because he came up through TV first. So we kind of a lot of us saw his kind of sitcoms he directed, like Spaced, which was where he met Simon Pegg and Nick Frost for the first time. And he did quite a bit of directing for TV, and then came up that way, and then did a very low budget feature, A Fistful of Fingers, which I've never seen. It's like a parody western, I believe.
we're gonna have to watch it now, aren't we? Really?
Was it a like theatrical feature, or was it a TV movie?
Opened apparently at the Prince Charles Cinema on 24th November 1995. Debuted in the US 20 years later.
Did they change the name to King Charles?
It's still the Prince Charles Cinema.
And famously, Empire magazine are a big cheerleader for his work. But even they said, "Yeah, we love you, Edgar, but this is a 2-star movie. Thank God you got better after this one."
Yeah. Apparently, he's never had a commercial release, but hopefully we'll get one at some point.
Well, I wasn't aware of the Sparks Brothers. I don't know how I missed that. That was a documentary, right?
Yeah. If you like your music documentaries, then yes, it's definitely well worth your time. I mean, the Sparks are a fascinating band anyway, but it's sort of done in the style of like one of their kind of surreal kind of music videos. There's a lot of kind of weaving out reality, and he just basically interviews them, and then a lot of their famous fans as well. So it's a really, really fun music doc, definitely.
Yeah. And Scott Pilgrim's a pretty big beloved movie. But one thing I think it's interesting with Running Man alongside is that they're both adaptations But
Yeah.
one adaptation he famously did not end up doing is Ant-Man, where he would not compromise his creative freedom to be part of the Marvel
Yeah.
machine.
Yeah, and it's a big. It was meant to be like his big Hollywood break, just straight after Scott Pilgrim. He'd been developing it for years and co-wrote the screenplay of Joe Cornish. I mean, they both still receive a screenplay credit in the final film, I believe, because of the groundwork they did. I mean, basically, I think if you spend so much time in the development of a film, you're always going to get some kind of a credit. So I think
Because Del Toro's still got credits on some of the Hobbit movies.
Hobbit, yeah. But yeah, I mean, whatever actually happened there, I mean, they did cast Paul Rudd. That was their decision. He was still going to be their Ant-Man, but I think the final film would have been at least stylistically different. I mean, I can imagine what Edgar Wright would have done with his, with his cinematography and editing, in the Marvel kind of space would have been quite interesting to see.
Agreed. And then, the reason, we're doing these films, I think specifically, is I really badly wanted to do Baby Driver. So that's the movie.
Somebody really likes Baby Driver.
Yes, somebody does. And that and Last Night in Soho, like they're both original films, and then also not like connected with his other films. There aren't like characters that cross over, and for me, those two are the two I've seen the most for sure. I'll just sit down and watch them like for fun, and it was interesting watching Soho with more of a critical eye this time.
Yeah. I mean, I would concur that for me, Baby Driver is probably his best film. I think it's just like obviously we'll come to it more, but it's the it's obviously everything's been building up to that. Really, he's developed his his style and his kind of technique so much over the years, and it shows like some unusual emotional maturity for him as well, I think. But generally, like Cornetto trilogy aside, I think Scott Pilgrim is my most watched. I do go back to it quite frequently, and I do have a lot of affection for it. I know I'm going to be fighting you two on that, because I know you're not that keen on it.
No, I will say on the maturity part, although most of his films are comedies or comedic elements, I pretty much think Last Night in Soho is the outlier on that, where he tries to do something completely different. I will actually say that of the Cornetto trilogy, although we're not going to talk about it that much, we're going to have to ping back off them for various elements. Some of them are, I mean, like very dark. I mean, Hot Fuzz has a very dark undertone. And very much a kind of takedown of the romanticized kind of country rural life. Shaun of the Dead is a zombie film and a breakdown of kind of romantic relationships. And World's End, I didn't like that as much when it came out. I've appreciated more and more over the years.
Yeah, and I think that's probably got some of the darkest elements of any of his films. Really, it really doesn't pull his punches in terms of going into like alcoholism and depression and everything like that.
Well, I think I saw a little bit of a clip. It might have been in the press for Running Man, that he was saying, I want out of this do something completely different, possibly with Pegg and Frost talking. So we may get another Pegg and Frost and Wright movie, even if it's not a Cornetto's film. But they were saying we deliberately did World's End a bit differently to steer people off the beaten track, and it's kind of very much about it. In a ways, I actually think it's a very good companion piece to Last Night in Soho, because they're both kind of essentially about romanticizing the past and how this is that's that one very not much a good thing, and the dangers of this romanticizing of things.
And about the past coming back to haunt you, and kind of everything bleeding through, just secrets and mistakes and everything like that, echoing down the decades.
Yeah, and Arrested Development is very much an aspect of, at least the ones I've seen. I haven't seen At World's End or The World's End.
At World's End is Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes, very different movie.
Yeah,
I'd like to see him do a pirate deconstruction film, actually.
I mean, World's End essentially, it's like Sam Pegg is the one man child in his group of friends. They've all grown up and moved on, but he very much hasn't, and he's trying to recapture lost glories. And I suppose, capture their youth, but
Yeah.
everyone else has moved on and finds them quite pathetic. He's still trying to do that after 2 decades.
Yeah, spoilers, no spoilers. I will say, imagine kind of 5 old friends reuniting like 20 years later to do a pub crawl, but their old town has been invasion of the body snatchered.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, it's so much so that like the ending. I mean, sod it. I'm going to give away the ending. The ending of the world's end is
The world's end.
No, but it is actually the ending that you get in the original Jack Finney, the Body Snatchers novel, which is that the aliens go, sod it, we're not going to be able to colonize this place. They're never going to give in to us and allow it. We'll go somewhere else. Where the films were like, this is an awful ending. Let's make it bleak and nihilistic, and that's what we've had throughout. So actually, kind of the most realistic ending of all the Body Snatchers film is not actually a Body Snatchers film. It's the world ends out of everything. It's
God, you've made me want to go and rewatch it now. I've not seen it in years. I think I might have to now after this.
I've rewatched it recently, and obviously it came out in 2013. I was still in high school back then and didn't really get it. And then rewatching it a couple of years later, I liked it a bit more. And then I think I rewatched it sort of a year or two ago, and kind of I think the older you get, the more it hits home, because it is all about kind of high school versus now, and what you thought the world's going to be like, and it being a lie, and that kind of thing, and kind of how the world kind of sometimes changes on us, sometimes doesn't, how you move on and don't, and kind of time and how it affects people. And it's a lot darker and it's a lot more serious than which I think is where, coming off Hot Fuzz and Scott Pilgrim are the two he did before, where I mean, Hot Fuzz had its darker side, and Pilgrim had little bits, but that's the complete comedy, send up. To go to the world's end, everyone's like, right, upbeat, and it goes, oh, this is not as upbeat as we thought it was. It's got its comedy, but it's quite dark.
What do you think of this thought that I had, where I think Edgar Wright is sort of a less violent British Quentin Tarantino? How does that strike you?
Very similar. Yeah. I mean, I would see that like probably Sam Raimi is probably his biggest influence, especially in terms of his style and stuff like that. But yeah, they're both into like showing their love for like genre films, but also doing their own version of them, and tweaking it, and kind of
well, I mean,
commenting on it to an extent.
I'm not sure how true this anecdote is, but I think there is an anecdote where essentially Last Night in Soho was kind of inspired by Tarantino, because he said to Edgar Wright that Last Night in Soho, based on the song, he goes, "That's the best name for a film that hasn't been made yet." And so I don't know if he was developing Last Night in Soho and just managed to use that song, or just got it from there and it went from there. But so they are good mates in that, at least.
That's interesting.
And on the Sam Raimi front, I'm fairly sure I heard in some Shaun of the Dead audio commentary, they were like, "Oh, we ripped off John Carpenter in space, so we had to do Sam Raimi for Shaun of the Dead," with the smash cuts in Shaun of the Dead being in Army of Darkness, where he's gearing up. That kind of smash cut montage is directly lifted from Raimi.
Yeah, from I mean, I haven't seen all of them, and I need to go rewatch the Cornetto films and watch the final one at all. But just through his films, you can feel that he loves cinema. I mean, media in general, really. And they're basically, collages of film and culture, kind of smashing it all together and really giving it his own unique style and voice, I'd say.
I think
the biggest... Very much like it. Very much like a Tarantino or a James Gunn, he likes a bit of a magpie in terms of like finding the right music to accompany all his scenes, and all of his mixtapes basically are the soundtracks for his films. They're just the great kind of compilation albums in general, but they really kind of add to the scenes, boost like these big character moments and stuff like that. That's a real talent, and it's obviously a great level of eclectic music tastes, basically.
And I think the biggest kind of deep cut reference that I know of in his films is actually in Hot Fuzz. It's a book that I've read the first like 30 pages on, because there's a PDF on Internet Archive, but I haven't read it all. It's a book called The Siege at Treacher's Farm, I think it is, which is the book that got made into Straw Dogs.
Yeah.
Which obviously is referencing Hot Fuzz quite a lot. But it's
Mr. Treacher.
yeah, and it's also where Mr. Treacher gets his name from. So he'd managed to split it into two things
Yeah.
and get it in there. So it's just like a really kind of weird deep. I think actually at some point the book actually appears. I think somebody's reading it, or it's like on the side somewhere in Hot Fuzz as well. I'll have to double check that. But he likes his deep cuts, but then I think at the same time he has his own distinctive flair. And the thing that I do like with Edgar Wright is that he's got his distinctive kind of style and flair, but he will vary it up if he needs to. He's obviously got his dynamic, fast-paced editing, his kind of quick dialogues, his comedy. But then if he needs to go serious, he will just go straight convention and start all that. Let's bring it down, and he knows when to adjust for things like that, which is why I think Jacob, you were saying earlier to us that kind of stylistically almost like a Wes Anderson kind of thing, where it's very much a style-based thing. Whereas I don't get on with Wes Anderson because he pretty much never breaks that style, and it's like this is what we've got and we're sticking to it. And that works for some people, and it works for me in bits, but not overall. Whereas Edgar Wright can just go, yeah, we're doing this, but if we need to, we will focus for what suits the film. And this is something that I like Hitchcock for. You know, he will do whatever needs to be done in order to get it across, and those are the directors that I really do like the most.
Yeah, he can really adapt his aesthetics and preferences really well, and everything, like, it feels similar, but it also feels very distinct, and not just because of settings and stuff like that. But I mean, speaking of Hitchcock and different settings, Kieran, I don't know how much you were following at the time, or even you, Sam, but what do you think of his transition to Hollywood from, you know, being more of a UK based centric sort of filmmaker? I mean, you know, it is obviously necessary and maybe even the goal of any filmmaker. But like, do you feel maybe any of his work has lost, you know, anything by transitioning, or
No, I mean,
does it matter at all?
Judging by Baby Driver and Last Night in Soho, no, not at all. Like I said, I do think he's kind of basically matured over time, and he's got a bigger canvas now to do exactly what he wants. Basically, I mean, he had to be so creative in his early career, you know, with the budgets he was working with, you know. But he hasn't completely left that behind, but just he can literally do anything he wants now, really. You know, I don't think he'll struggle to get a film made from now on, unless by some miracle Running Man is a disaster, which it won't be, because, you know, Glenn Powell's the lead in it.
Yeah.
We should do Glenn Powell after it releases. I love him.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, I'm just checking just rough budgets for his films. Somehow Scott Pilgrim is the biggest budget film that he's done.
Yeah, and also his biggest flop, which
around 70 mil. Yeah,
may have been a part of that to do with it. Yeah,
I mean, it was a flop financially, but not kind of, you know, with everybody else. And the thing with Scott Pilgrim is that I guess we'll get onto it in a second. But as far as I know, he was kind of approached to do it whilst he was doing the promotion tour for Shaun of the Dead. So he kind of knew, and that was like when the first couple of volumes were coming out. So he knew it right from the beginning. He managed to keep his style and kind of all the way through. So that project was his. He wasn't. I mean, he was a director brought on to shoot it, but it was can you make this your project rather than can you shoot a film for us? Which I think a lot of directors, when they make it, when they move to Hollywood for the first time, that's the kind of projects you end up with. And normally those are the ones where it's kind of, we just need somebody to shoot it. Let's get somebody lower down the ranks who will do it for a minimal fee, essentially. And then if it all goes wrong while they're a young director, we're never going to see him again. They can take all the backlash, blah, 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 you know? They're more likely to work for it. Edgar Wright, thankfully, with Scott Pilgrim, and with the success of Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, and bearing in mind the cast that was in Hot Fuzz as well. Like, once you've directed a James Bond in stuff, and all of these various people, and Edward Woodward, and, you know, I don't think too much is going to come
from The Office.
Yeah, not much is going to come your way that's going to kind of, you know, tear you down, really. And then kind of all the rest sort of very nicely sort of, around, I think Baby Driver's around 30 mil. Last Night Soho is around 40 mil. World's End will not be that high. So, I mean, when you say a transition to Hollywood, the Ant-Man coming out of Ant-Man probably worked better for him. I don't know how much Running Man's been made for, but probably the biggest budget he's had.
I would
Not
imagine
publicly
so, but
available,
distance.
but I would say around 100 mil normally is that kind of thing. That's going to be the highest
I would
budget he's
think so,
done,
yeah.
which, if it's taken him 7/8 films, if you include the fingerful of dollars or whatever it is, to get to the 100 mil mark, that's probably about the right slope in terms of budget. I would want a director to have sort of 6 or 7 films before you hit a 9-figure budget, because you've got experience dealing with everything there before they throw the amount of finances at you that can tank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess with that, let's go and get into that giant budget film, which over here at least, it used to be on Netflix for so long. I had to rent it this time. Sam, tell us about Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah. Well, I had the Blu-ray, so
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, so Edgar Wright, so he'd done Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. As Kieran mentioned, we'd had this project kind of on his mind for a while, and before completing his Cornettos trilogy, he went over to Canada, and made this very, very, very Canadian story, basically. I was watching like the behind the scenes on this one. They're such fun just talking about. So, guys, it's so nice to be in Toronto and actually have Toronto be Toronto for once, because it's always New York or somewhere like that normally. So it was a 2010 film based on Brian Lee O'Malley's comic. And it follows 22-year-old Canadian Scott Pilgrim, played by Michael Cera, who fights in a battle of the bands, fights his own worst impulses, navigating his love life, and most pressingly has to fight his new girlfriend, Ramona Flowers' 7 evil exes. So a bit of background for the concept of Scott Pilgrim, the comic, and then obviously the film. It came about just from 2 kind of premises, basically, that Brian Lee O'Malley came up with. So the first was, what if after a life of playing fighting games, someone confronted you and you actually had the ability to fight like a Street Fighter character? And the second concept was inspired by Brian Lee O'Malley when he was dating his future wife. And he learned that she had dated 3 different guys called Matthew, and on back of that came up with the idea of an evil league of Matthews that he imagined himself having to confront, for her love. And obviously that got developed into the League of Evil Exes. Interestingly, they did keep one Matthew in the film, with Matthew Patel, the first evil ex of Ramona's. So here's the thing.
By the way, have you read the comic?
I've not. No, I've seen synopses of the volumes, and I've seen some reviews and then comparing it to the film and stuff. So I know generally what the broad strokes are. I have seen the animated follow-up to Scott Pilgrim, which kind of goes more back to the comics as well, on Netflix, which is a nice little mini-series where basically all the cast reprise their roles like 10 years on, which is pretty fun. I've got a friend who's a big fan of Scott Pilgrim, the film, but also the books, and they end up doing some video games based on it as well. In the style of like old-fashioned like fighting games. So this thing looks at quite a few far-ranging views on this film, critical and audience, and essentially it's obviously the fans really love it and all the critics loved it. But one of the main kind of criticisms of common criticisms from audiences is that Scott Pilgrim's a bit of a dick, basically. He's just not a likable character at all or empathetic in the slightest. And I would argue, I'm not denying that. He's a complete douche, and just not many redeemable aspects of him, at least to begin with. But I don't think that's necessarily a fault in the film. I don't think it makes him a less interesting character. It's just you kind of have to look elsewhere for kind of positive aspects to him, kind of, getting around to kind of being on his side, and his struggles and everything. It's been criticised as like a bit of a favourite of of incels, kind of this idea, this nerd, fighting people to get the girl, and Ramona doesn't have any agency and everything like that. I mean, I'm not sure it's quite as simple as that. I think it's a very heightened reality. I think it's very aware of what it's doing. It's almost kind of criticising, parodying those kind of common tropes in like rom-coms and everything like that.
Well,
but I do kind of get the criticisms, but equally, they don't bother me as much because I kind of see they're not really being played straight, not meant to be taken seriously.
If you're saying any part of this film is meant to be taken seriously, you're watching a different movie to the one I watched.
Yeah,
I agree, but this is probably the main point that I would want to dig into, like really thinking about this film aside from like the style and the filmmaking and the cat, all that stuff. Like there's so many great things, but from what I found, the comic was it's written in the midst of like the mid 2000s. It's very much of its time, all of the story and the ideas, the way things are portrayed, the people, all the stuff they're doing. But in that era, that's when the manic pixie dream girl was actually coined.
Yes, which Ramona is very much. She's almost like excessive in terms of being that trope. Basically, she's like again like almost like a parody of that. I mean, I don't know whether she was initially meant to be a parody of that, or just was that in the comic. And I think in the film version,
I will say as somebody who is now a writer meant to be, who was reading a lot of YA, sort of the mid 2000s, early 2010s, and then starting writing stuff. You don't realize you're writing the Manic Pixie Dream Girl until somebody points out to you the trope, and then you go, "Ooh, yeah, that's a thing, right? We got to get out of it very quickly." So it slips in without you noticing. And I mean, the trope on its own, in theory, if you can work it well, is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the fact that it's kind of now ridden to stupidity and parody that it's like,
I mean, Clementine, Kate Winslet's character in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is considered like one of the classic ones, and it kind of just
it stemmed from Kirsten Dunst's character in Elizabethtown, apparently. That's where the film critic Nathan Rabin came up with the term to describe her. And I mean, Ramona's in this weird place where I do agree to an extent. There is awareness and parody of the idea of like earning a literal dream girl. Like definitely the film is conscious of, he's not just beating up these people and then he wins the girl. At the same time, she's also kind of just that. And in the film, at least, her character's a little thin. And the ending of the film really muddles, how much of a critique it is versus just being that itself. And I would say, Zooey Deschanel in 500 Days of Summer definitely is a big version. But I
think of Natalie Portman in Garden State as well.
Yeah, Ramona is sort of the ultimate version of it.
I mean, even if you don't say she's a Manic Pixie Dream Girl, definitely a very classic Princess Prize, I believe, is the phrase from Vladimir Prop. Going back on our proper old literary theory from 1928, Morphology of a Folktale, which I did actually read cover to cover at one point. So, as a cat invades. So
and also to give a definition, it is according to Rabin, a one-dimensional existing only to provide emotional support to the protagonist, teach him important life lessons, and receive nothing in return.
Yeah, but she'll have like quirky fashion sense and be into her music and strange deadpan sense of humor and all that kind of stuff. Classically.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I will probably say that it straddles a line, and where it falls on that line is probably up to personal taste and interpretation. But we do acknowledge that it can fall either way depending on how you decide to view it. Some characters are very clearly in one camp, and you kind of can't view them whichever way you want. Like if you've got a World War II movie, there's no really way you can frame Adolf Hitler as a good guy. You know what I mean? Like, but you know,
I thought you were going to say frame him as a manic pixie dream girl.
you can't do that either because they're so clearly one thing. But with Ramona in this movie, it's very much in a state where your interpretation can fall.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I also think the female characters around it too help, boost the idea of critique and parody.
Yeah. So one of the main selling points to the film is obviously is the fights in this. Scott Pilgrim versus the world. Scott Pilgrim versus the Seven Evil Exes. I mean, it's the general reality of the film. It's sort of like a generic kind of sitcom-y kind of version of like young adults in Toronto, except for when like comic booky kind of logic comes through. There's like there's like a space highway through people's minds and like portals into other places, and which isn't really commented on. It's just part of this world. Then you have like the game graphics and references to lives and how games operate, levels and bosses and things like that. And the way the fights themselves are executed, so it's like a standard kind of young adult rom-com, and then obviously they turn for a fight and there's a big elaborate choreographed fight with like super moves and people jumping 100 feet in the air and crashing through walls and everything like that.
It is also absolutely diegetic, right? Like there's no metaphor to the fights.
Yeah. It's not like a musical where you can usually take it either way. It's like people aren't literally breaking song. It's just what the characters are feeling, expressing that way. In this, it is literally happening. People comment on it afterwards. Just obviously has like lasting effects on the world. That don't get undone. As soon as the fight scenes are over. What I love about Edgar Wright's way of doing things, I mean, even with working with a bigger budget here, he's still using old-fashioned kind of techniques, to make the budget go as far as it can. I mean, I was just watching the documentaries on the Blu-ray again. So he talks about how the stunt coordinator, who I've mentioned a few times on this show, because I'm a massive fan of him, Brad Allen, who was part of Jackie Chan's old stunt team in Hong Kong back in the day. But he choreographs Edgar Wright's films, Guillermo del Toro's films, the Kingsman films. So he's really distinct kind of creative kind of fight choreographer. We talked about how he wants to do the fight scenes Hong Kong style, which basically means compared to like the Western way of doing it, where you do a fight scene, you say, right, we'll do this side of the stage, we'll get this shot, and this shot, but it could be in any order. Basically, it's like we want to get this angle on this actor, this angle on this actor, and then we'll all put together later on in the edit. What they do in Hong Kong to make it easier on the performers to kind of and actually get a flow to the fights is everything's shot chronologically. Basically, so they shoot fight from start to finish. They might take different angles, but literally, we're doing stage A, this fight now. Right, we've done that. Now we'll do stage B of the fight. Now we'll do stage C. I found it helps like the actors, especially if they don't have like a martial arts or dance background, to kind of get into rhythm of fight and learn the choreography more easily. So.
Because that was the story with the Matrix, wasn't it? That they got all the main people in for training because they got like Hong Kong team in, and they said for Western kind of actors who aren't familiar with the stuff and aren't martial artists, they did well. And there was only one shot that the guy who was the head of it couldn't get and wasn't happy with, and that's there's a bit in the lobby shootout where Trinity runs up the wall and does a flip off, and there's a cut there, and the only reason that happened is because when they tried to shoot it, Carrie-Anne Moss got an injury from it, so they had to get a double in to do that flip off and finish it off. I
mean, it's they've got a really good kind of stunt team on this, obviously, but they had to want to get the key players, the actual actors, doing as much as they could. I mean, loads of behind the scenes footage of them, in their training, spins a little Michael Cera doing press ups and stuff, and like all these like fitness regimes and stuff, and obviously lots of wire work, this exaggerated reality. Doesn't matter if it's looking floaty or artificial, that's the point. It's meant to look like a fighting game, but apparently very first day of fighting. I think they were doing the end fight, in Gideon's, kind of theatre. And they're doing the element of Ramona versus knives, and that was the first thing they shot. And basically, the very first fight that shot was the beginning of that fight between Ramona and knives, and actually it played knives as Ellen Wong. Yeah, Ellen Wong apparently managed to graze Mary Elizabeth Winstead's face with her knife, and the very first throw she threw, she just got a little bit too close, and she got a nice scratch on her cheek. And she's like, "I'm so sorry, I've ruined the whole shoot. This shouldn't have happened." But they did get knocked up. I mean, there's that footage of the cast showing off their bruises and scuffs and grazes, just because they're really getting into it proper. It's nice. But I was saying about the old-fashioned way of doing things, making the budget go further. So obviously, why is something like that? With the more strenuous kind of movements in the fights, like a foot to the face, like big kicks to the face, and obviously they're dragged back, wide, and then go flying, into like a crash pad. But to get the shot of the foot's face, very old-fashioned technique is literally a foot on a stick that they just kind of held up to the camera, up to their face, it looked like someone thrown like a really high kick, but it's just a proper foot on a stick that they were just filming.
May have mentioned this before, but I'll put in my version. Final year film of my undergrad, I needed a shot of somebody's feet floating into view that I kind of nicked from. If you've seen the film The Eye, in the elevator scene, there's somebody's feet kind of hovering into view, and we tried everything to lifting somebody up, we tried on a chair dangling, and then eventually I'm just there going, and strangely enough, I thought of Sam. Have you seen Jonathan Creek by any chance?
So I've never watched it, but I know of it.
Detective series with Alan Davis. Essentially, one of the things they discover is essentially this corpse that they think is lying there is actually just somebody's head, and everything else is kind of already stuffed. It's like essentially just like a prop dummy, essentially. So they think it's the entire person, so it vanishes, and all they need to vanish is the head because all this has got clothes. And I thought of that and went, what are we actually seeing? We're seeing 2 shoes and a pair of trousers, so we don't actually need the legs. So I just stuck my arms in and the shoes, did that. I went, right, we got that, move on. And it took half an hour until I went, what are we actually seeing here? Those tricks actually do work, and they're very easy, and it's simple stuff.
That's great.
Like it's clever stuff, like the transitions, from one location to another, but actually doing it in camera. So and basically it's just like 2 sets doubling up, basically side by side, and the camera just tracks over the other side of the wall, and there's someone else. But it looks kind of like, we're passing through space and time, in the film, which I always love stuff like that. Just some random kind of trivia I picked up from the film. The voice we hear a few times, sort of like the the narrator, like the gravelly narrator, once upon a time, Toronto, Canada. That's Bill Hader, apparently, which I had no idea before looking into this.
This cast is just incredible.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if it wasn't for Hot Fuzz, this would be the most stacked cast of kind of Edgar Wright's career. I mean, just the amount of, he's kind of joked about in interviews, says, I spotted all these people first, all these kind of young actors who kind of went on to do great things, Oscar winners, Kieran Culkin and Brie Larson, their breakthrough roles almost.
Anna Kendrick's in there, Aubrey Plaza's there, Michael Cera's there.
Yeah, Aubrey
Chris
Plaza
Evans as well.
Aubrey Plaza and Brie Larson, as far as I know, were only TV at this point. I don't know what Anna Kendrick had been in, but
she'd been in Twilight.
Oh yeah, she'd been in Twilight. There you go. We got 2 people from Arrested Development. Sarah had obviously been doing comedy movies too, where he plays this character but less of a jerk.
Yeah. Yeah, but Chris Evans wasn't Captain America yet at this point. Captain America was going to be out later that year.
He was the Human Torch.
And former Superman Brandon Routh as well. I mean, I have to say that they're my 2 favorite of the X's, Chris Evans and Brandon Routh. And I want to ask you guys this: who makes the best doofus, Chris Evans or Brandon Routh? I think Brandon Routh kind of slightly edges it just for the vegan kind of aspect. I mean, when the film goes more surreal, as with the moments of love, I think that fight between it's probably the third fight with Brandon Routh is probably my favorite. You know, the psychic powers and the Super Saiyan hair and the vegan superpowers.
I do want to say, obviously,
then,
very quickly, obviously, for more Brandon Routh, go check out our Superman episode that we did about 6 months ago. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, he's a real Canadian talent who I don't think many people have actually worked out what to do with to press. You know, because he is funny, but he's a good-looking leading man, but possibly more of a character actor. Because I think he has got those like comic chops. You know, he's not afraid to play up a character's stupidity.
Schwartzman too, just showing up. Most of these people I forgot were in it, so it's a fun time being like, oh my god, yeah, Jason Schwartzman's in this. Love it.
Yeah, and to be honest, if there was one actor in this, I'd have said I put money on. Oh yeah, I don't think he was doing that fighting. I think that was a double. It would have been Schwartzman. But then you see these fancy stuff. No, he is doing all that stuff with his sword. It's very impressive. You know, they really did put the time in their training. But yeah, I love the Brandon Routh scene. I love the kind of the vegan superpowers and the vegan police bursting in and robbing him of his powers because
it's beautiful.
Because he had some gelato.
Yeah,
gelato isn't vegan. It's milk and eggs, bitch. Which is the best line of the whole film for me.
The vegan police, which God, who is it? Thomas Jane? Who is it? Yeah, Thomas Jane.
Yeah, it's Thomas Jane and Clifton Collins Jr. Yeah,
who I don't think he talks. I think it's just Thomas.
Well, I think doesn't he read him like his transgressions off his notepad or something? I think they both do say something, but yeah, Thomas Jane's one you remember generally. So I think the way it kind of evokes kind of video games and kind of comic book kind of grammar, like the panels and transitions, everything's really clever. If I had a criticism, because I'm really fond of this movie. It's one of my go-tos. I do watch quite a bit. If I had criticism of this, I think the music aspect is less good. Not because the music, kind of the musicians and kind of that aspect of the story doesn't work, but it's just because I'm not sure they ever actually decide whether the bands in this are meant to suck, you know, whether we're meant to think they suck or whether they're actually good, but within the world of the film they're meant to suck. It's all a bit unclear to me. Apparently Michael Cera did have to, because he's quite a keen guitar player and bass guitar player, and he had to actually dumb down his skills somewhat to not kind of outclass the rest of the band, basically. So, because again, you know, with all the fight training, obviously the musicians in this had to, put in the hours to learn to play their instruments convincingly as well. But yeah, Michael Cera kind of had to not look like he's an expert or anything.
The kind of grungy garage rock style reminded me very much of the band Ash, which if you don't know them too much, if you've seen Shaun of the Dead, they're playing on the car when they initially drive out and then hit the zombie and kind of pull back up and then go again. It's Ash playing.
Yeah, because I think Edgar Wright's friends with both Ash and Supergrass, I think, which is why I think they've both had kind of tracks on his songs.
Yeah.
Tracks in his films even. What else was there I was going to mention? Okay, we should probably address the elephant in the room. Scott is introduced to us by saying, this is Scott, he's 22, and he's going out with a 17-year-old high school.
Yeah.
You can't really get around. It's not good. I mean, everyone else tells him how not good it is, but still, they probably keep that element going a bit too long. Poor old Knives. I mean, she's such a fun character, but she's just so mistreated in this film.
Yeah. Although what is unfortunate about it is that, like, Scott clearly gets along better with her, like telling the Pac-Man story to her versus Ramona. You know, I know there's an alternate ending where he ends up with knives, and my only issue with that is that she's 17. If she was 18, like that would really change it a lot. I don't know what the laws are in Canada, but like, I mean, socially, obviously, it's very strange.
It takes, so the age of consent in the UK is 16. You know, I don't know about what it is in Canada. Whether I mean, I think you still consider it creepy, even in this country.
Yeah.
If you're in your 20s going out with someone even in their late teens. You know?
Yeah, I think it's again on the line where if it was kind of they were both in high school but at other ends of the spectrum, so they vaguely knew each other, you
Yeah.
could just about get away with it. And maybe if it was he's 22 and she's just finished high school, maybe, and therefore 18.
Yeah.
You could just about
Yeah.
get away with it. This is a gap which is very much on the line. You go, is this comedic purposes or is this slightly icky?
Yeah. I mean, and one of the negative Letterboxd reviews I found was in Spanish. So I don't speak Spanish. I couldn't read it, but I could read the first line, which it opens with Scott Pilgrim, pedophilia.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I can see it.
I do think, he's in a band, like that is kind of a thing at the time, is like high school, I was literally Knives' age when this came out. Like I was playing music, I played bass. Like high schoolers were into that stuff. Being a 17-year-old who knows somebody in a local band, you're like, oh my God, like that part of it is like fun and realistic. But it is a shame that Scott is a creep, I don't understand how he is landing all of these interesting and fun and talented women. And children in Knives' case.
Yeah. I mean, again, another Letterboxd review. It said, this is a movie about vegan special powers and subspace travel, and still the most unrealistic part of it is not only one but three girls were successfully seduced by Michael Cera, which I think is a bit of a, I think it's a bit unfair on Michael Cera, but I say successfully seduced by Scott Pilgrim, the character, because he was just so unlikable. Which again, I don't think is necessarily an issue. It doesn't make it less interesting, but it does. You have to fight a little bit more to kind of for him as the lead character to get his sympathies. I mean, kind of enjoy seeing him getting beaten up a bit, if I'm honest.
Well,
I mean, I saw.
I think going. Oh, sorry.
No, carry on.
Oh, well, going along with that, like, just my first issue with him and Ramona is, I mean, he sees her in his dream, he stalks her, all that, whatever. That part is like intentionally, weird, creepy, whatever. That's part of like the story. But whenever they first meet and he is talking to her, not first meet, but when she delivers the Amazon package and he asks her out, like, I don't understand why she says yes. They don't really have any chemistry on the date. And, she does say eventually, oh, I want something simple. But I really don't understand the appeal going from her to Scott. And that's my first sticking point.
Yeah, I just think just making her a bit less Forsyth, giving her a bit more kind of there, to communicate with
he's nice
the audience
and
would have helped.
Will do.
Yeah.
I tried coming up with like who's an actor that could have played Scott to give him just like a little bit more charisma or something that helps me understand why, Ramona is doing the rest of the movie. That would be a nice change for me.
Yeah. I mean, I found this essay by Justin Dempsey on Medium, and he said, in the hands of a lesser filmmaker, such a banal story with unlikable main character would be unbearable. A central tenet of storytelling is the main character must advance the plot, but Scott can't influence the plot because he lacks the self-confidence to take any action. Edgar Wright overcomes these issues by creating an environment that advances the plot and makes Scott palatable. Scott is not a hero. He's lazy, he's selfish, he's Canadian. He's an anti-hero. Just kind of, I think you can definitely view it through that prism, I think, and you almost love to hate him, kind of.
Over the course of the story too, he doesn't really like learn anything, in my opinion. Just there at the very end, he gets the power of self-respect, but is that the lesson he needed to learn?
Yeah. He learns to be a little bit less of a dick by the end of it, I think. But it's not that character growth.
It's a fairly flat arc,
Yeah, and we talk all the time, like portrayal is an endorsement. I don't think the movie is like pro Scott, you know, when he's doing bad stuff.
Yeah.
But just in general, like Scott is the worst character, and then just very vaguely gets to the lowest bar of improved as a person. And then, I mean, we're talking about the ending, whatever. He walks through a door with Ramona to whatever the future is. And we don't know that they're together, but the implication of it is weird. Like, it seems like he should have learned, maybe I don't need to be pursuing, you know, women for fulfillment in my life or something.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing I have, I mean, I must have brought this up before. I saw the first 10 minutes of this when lockdown had just started, so I was finishing off one module for my film producing MA, where we all had to suggest a different film for everyone to watch and introduce it. It was for film exhibition and distribution, so we were exhibiting a film for everyone else, and somebody chose Scott Pilgrim, and I got the first.
That sounds like an amazing class, by the way.
That was only part of it. The rest of it was just on theory to distribution, like micro cinemas and stuff like that. It was actually quite fun. It was run by Kim Knowles, who also works for like the experimental stuff in like she used to work for Rotterdam Film Festival on the experimental cinema kind of programming and stuff like that, which is why she was running it. But yeah, Scott Pilgrim was presented. I watched the first 10 minutes and had to switch it off because it was such a overload of everything. And my personal issue with this is that kind of it's almost like I know this is the style the film is going in, but because it's such an overload at the start, it's almost like this is the gag. We're doing this, isn't this amazing? And it just for some reason, like I was watching it going, why I appreciate the filmmaking style and the craft and the acting and everything is, but for some reason it bored me. Like, and I think it was just like, I don't know. It's fairly. Oh, now we've got to fight another X, another X, another X, and oh, we're going to do some crazy kind of visual thing here, and now there's graphics, and now there's a funny thing here, and it just got fairly repetitive and dull after a while. And I don't know if anyone like. I mean, you're saying kind of Scott's not a great character, and it's like, I guess. I'll be honest, I wasn't massively focused on that because I was kind of zoning out. I'm like, oh, we've still got another 3 boyfriends to kill. Okay, they'll turn up at some point.
Exes.
We'll do some stuff ex-boyfriend, and then we'll move on again. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of in the same way that kind of something like Jurassic World Rebirth, it's like, oh, we've got to get 3 dinosaur eggs. It's like, okay, well, here's the first one, and now we go to the second one, and now we go to there's going to be no trip up anywhere because we have to get to the third one, and that, you know, it kind of laid out a sequence very early on, and you just got to. It's a bit of a slog.
It's like a video.
Yeah.
Oh, strange
that. I got this from Dominic Noble on YouTube as well. So if you know his stuff, you know his thing is he compares film adaptations with the books they're based on, and you know compares and contrasts and what works, what doesn't. So obviously compared this to the multiple volumes of the Scott Pilgrim kind of comic book space. Because this kind of summarizes them all. Really, it's not an adaptation of one really. It's a broad strokes of combination of all of them. It changes some things, leaves some things the same, and does its own thing basically. But he comments about kind of how the characters change, like in the adaptation, like the main character. And in his conclusion, he said, both comic and film Scott start the story as lazy, amoral, self-absorbed wasters, perfectly content to lie to their significant others, sponge off their friends, and make zero effort to get a job or do anything with their lives. But only comic Scott eventually had to face the reality of what his treatment of his friends and lovers had done to them, and see what his life would have been like without the people he'd taken for granted for so long. So basically, it's almost like the film ends at the wrong point. Before he's learned any lessons, the comic kind of gave it a bit more time, to mull over those aspects, and the character does grow over time. And with the comic, apart from anything else, tells the same story of like a span of a year. So there's like a lot much longer for every character to get their kind of their due time, to learn lessons and develop and everything like that. So it's almost, we almost needed like obviously didn't do well enough to warrant a sequel, but we almost did need like a sequel to see if he had really learned anything, actually grown as a person. Because the animated follow-up isn't really a sequel; it's almost like a remix. It's almost like telling the same story, but more like the comic, but in animated form. Of multiple episodes. It doesn't really.
What's the series like? So there was this Netflix series a couple of years ago, wasn't there?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, it's like
it's animated. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's like an animated kind of mini series. All the cast came back, but it's basically telling the same story, but different, essentially.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. A couple more, like just little kind of trivia things I quite like in this film. So you have the Chris Evans character, Lucas Lee. This slightly a pretty great skateboarder and a pretty great actor, as he's described. I mean, they really did design like all those posters of like the previous like crappy action films he'd been in. I think they did some mock trailers for them that are all online somewhere. Apparently, his thing about using his doubles, to do the wide shots, that was particularly based on what he had to do with Wesley Snipes during Blade Trinity, because he had the fallout with the director David Goyer basically just disappeared off set for days at a time, and so they just had to do lots of wide shots of Blade using his stunt double. And famously, to the extent that he hated the director so much, on the scene where he's lying on his back, he refused to open his eyes.
Yeah.
So they had to spend $1 million on a shot to use computer graphics to make him open his eyes, because Wesley Snipes should have said, "No, not doing that for you."
Yeah, this is another Chris Evans get to be a jerk role. It's a lot smaller than some of his other ones, but
I was going to say, if you want to see us talking about Chris Evans playing a little bit of a jerk for a role, please go see our Fantastic Four episode again. Yeah. We're getting in all the superhero episode references and plugs.
Yeah. He does it. He does it really well, doesn't he? What was the other things we mentioned? I think the MVP for this. I mean, we'll come back to it for Baby Driver, but I think the MVP here is Bill Pope, the cinematographer. I don't think there's any cinematographer alive who does that kind of heightened reality better than he does. I mean, famously, he did the Raimi Spider-Man films. Just like pushing reality, far beyond how the world actually works, but still keeping it like it's part of the same universe. It never looks jarring. It's very much in keeping with the style, and keeping track of all different planes of action and everything like that. I just think he's got a real talent for that.
Did all the Matrixes as well. Just looking through.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, he's a real talented guy.
Kieran, your issue is the bam, 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 just overwhelming, over stylized.
To a certain extent, yeah. I just kind of just like it. Kind of the almost the joke got old very quickly for me, if that makes sense. And then there are times where he does bring it down again, very subtly, and I'm like, those are the bits that I like. The attempt, like at the end, kind of the final conversation between Scott and Ramona.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of my favorite lines in the film. It generally does, despite what the relationship is up to that point and how inappropriate it is. I love Knives saying at the end, "I was always too cool for you anyway." It's just like it's just a little moment,
and that kind of stuff where it's just like
what they've been through.
It's like we dispense with all the kind of almost like ADHD sort of throw in your face televisual kind of, we need to maintain your attention stuff, and just focus on something very simple. It feels better for me. And you can have the kooky stuff in there, but sometimes I think you just need to bring it down a bit. It just felt to me a lot of the time like it thought like I was going to be distracted in about 3 seconds, and so needed to throw something flashy on the screen every 3 seconds. And I know that's the comic book style, but at the same time, it's like you can do that every so often to keep it going, rather than just being so overly done. I think it was just past a point of where kind of I'm engaged, and now I'm kind of, it's so kind of ridiculous that I'm switching off in a way.
I like the hyper stylized comic style for it. It works for me. The part I really don't like, aside from Scott and just the central relationship, and the way it ends is the 2010ness of it. It is very much a product of the era in which it was produced, and like it's the same way like How I Met Your Mother has a similar thing. It's telling a story about a very specific period in time, with an unlikable protagonist also there. But yeah, and
that era where kind of the gay best friend, that was all they were, weren't they? It was like that's the joke. They're gay,
The indie rock band playing in a garage, the kind of music they're playing, the clothes that everybody's wearing, just all of it. It's too much of it for me, and I wish it could be a bit more, I don't know, a classic or timeless, but maybe there's not a way to do that either. But
no, I think that I don't think you can criticize a film for being too much of the time that it's made in. How
well, I'm not criticizing it for it. It's more just my subjective feeling on it.
Yeah. How dare a film set in the 1950s, made in the 1950s, be like looking like it's from the 1950s? How awful! I can't relate to this anymore. I don't think we can criticize the film for that.
I think that something like, I don't know, just random Legally Blonde. It takes place in like 2004 or whatever, but it's not constant pop culture references thrown in your face, and it isn't postmodern in that way, where yes, that is where it takes place. It feels like it is an important element of this film.
The thing is, like, it was kind of new and modern for a film to be doing like a comic book style to this degree at this point. And it's weird that now it just feels like everybody's done it, It's so
because the only other film I can really think of, films that kind of were heightened to this extent, very deliberately kind of in the style of comic panels, were things like Sin City and 300, and even Ang Lee's Hulk.
Probably Miike had done it as well at some point. There's got to be some Japanese guys that have.
I mean, we should probably move on soon, but I do still really enjoy this film. I think it's a lot of fun. I laugh a lot at it. I think the characters, are not all likable. They're all kind of interesting to an extent. I think all the performances are really good. And I just think it was just nice to see Edgar Wright really kind of cut loose, and though it's kind of adapting a pre-existing work and trying to make it more of his own. It kind of, I think he very much made something in the spirit of like the original story, and on a slightly bigger budget. It didn't do as well in box office, but it's very much a cult cult favorite now. And people passionately like it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I can see why people like it. I can see how it works for people, and it's still, even with my dislike about it and my not connect with it, it's still a very competently made film. It's very well made. It's very well acted, very well shot, and what it does very well. It's just, for me, just doesn't work for me personally on a connection basis. And actually, aside from let's say he's done 6 films, because I think A Fistful of Fingers or whatever it is kind of like, yes, it technically has directorial debut, but we all kind of regard Shaun of the Dead as his feature film. Let's be fair. So of the 6 main ones, I actually find Scott Pilgrim to be his weakest film, just because it just doesn't work for me. He went overboard, I think, just slightly, and it's just like that's too much. Turn it down a little bit, and I might connect with it.
Yeah, and I enjoy most of my time watching it. I'm glad this didn't turn into let's just name all the gags, because there are a lot of really good ones. And they stay varied. They get different twists, and I mean that's the Edgar Wright like core for me is his ability to weave gags and have them be meaningful throughout the film.
I mean, deadpan. Aubrey Plaza is always fun, isn't it? Just like
in the nicest way. I've never seen her do anything else.
It's what she does, but she does it better than anyone else. And Yeah, I'm also disappointed that she doesn't have like a portable sensor bar, like follows her around.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So after he did that, he made what is it? The World's End, not At
The
World's
World's
End.
End. Yeah.
Didn't make Baby
there,
Driver.
there was also on the World's End. There was also a thing because This Is the End was being released. Was it the same week, 2 weeks after, stuff like that? So people were getting mixed up which one they were going to see at the time.
Nice.
So they had to.
Yeah.
Which isn't the first time he's had naming issues,
Yeah.
because obviously Shaun of the Dead came out within about 2 weeks of the remake of Dawn of the Dead. So they were having to do bits of that. So maybe it's just that every time Edgar Wright releases a movie, there's another film around there. It's got the same name.
Yeah, and then they had a few wasted years on Ant-Man that we've already mentioned.
Yeah.
So on the back of that, he thought I'd come back with something truly original.
Yeah, that's Baby Driver. And I mean, Baby Driver, you could call it a musical. It's like a musical crime heist. I don't know. Romance. Romance.
It's a jukebox music video with car chases.
Yeah, it is a very long music video. But man, it is really good. Ansel Elgort plays a character who's called Baby, and he's fallen into some criminal element. He has found himself trapped in a world where he is a getaway driver for Kevin Spacey, who is some kind of criminal mastermind. I think he sells cocaine. That's discussed.
Yeah. There's lots of references to. Well, we got this from a nice man with a nasal issue.
Yeah. And I think John Hamm says, "Yeah, I'll call you when the nose bag's empty." Yeah, he's just sort of a general criminal, but he's on the boss side of things. He's an organizer. He doesn't get his hands dirty, and he has a rotating crew of criminals that he uses for robberies and presumably other things. But that's where Baby comes in, is he is the driver. So whenever they go rob a bank, as they do at the beginning of the film, he sits in a car listening to his iPod. Just waiting for the people to come get in the car so he can be a badass, be the coolest, best driver you've ever seen. And he's also sort of the man with no name type protagonist too. He's very quiet, stoic, but there's a lot going on between the years. He's got a tough past, and really he just wants to be happy and live his life, but he can't seem to escape the world of crime.
It's so weird watching this, because all I could think of was just which Fast and Furious is it? And it's and never ever let him get into cars.
Oh yeah.
That's all I was thinking of. This is similar principle.
You could never put Baby into a Fast and Furious movie or recast Brian as Ansel Elgort.
I thought you were going to say you can never put Baby in the corner.
Oh yeah, no, you can't do that either. Well, you can't put him in a Dodge Charger. Apparently, I would love if he was in the Fast and Furious movies.
They're saying that. I'm amazed he's so good at running when he spends all his time behind the wheel.
That's true. Yeah. Well, he's not slow. Yeah, and so Edgar Wright had been developing the idea for it. I mean, since his first movie, he came up with the idea. It just listening to I can't remember the name of the band. Something Blues Explosion. He was listening to that. Oh, Kieran, did
John Spencer?
No, I'm still in.
Explosion.
Okay. Nice. Sorry, your audio cut for a second on my end. Yeah, whatever Sam just said, it's that. And he was listening to that song and just picturing, people driving at very high speeds to it. And that was the genesis of it. And then it's also it's the best scene in the movie. Kier, whatever we watched last week or a couple weeks ago, where you're like, yeah, that first scene, that's what really grabs you. I forget what movie it was, but that's how this is for me. No, it's not helpful. But you said that this first scene in Baby Driver, it just grabs you. Where Ansel Elgort's like, he's drumming along, he's listening to his music. You see the robbery happening in the background, and then it's all so meticulously edited to the music. And the process for that, they would shoot footage, and then while dailies are being created, the editor Paul Matchless, I don't know how it's pronounced, I'm saying Matchless, he was cutting footage to the music on set while they're filming the movie,
which is an absolute stroke of genius and really marks it out as an action as an action movie. Nothing else is quite like this, and it's that musical element, isn't it? It's an action musical. I mean, obviously, the opening scene kind of stole out and kind of tells you what it's going to be for the rest of the movie. But my favourite scene is the foot chase. In the middle. When the third heist goes wrong and Baby's running through. But just because apart from anything else, that track is great. Hocus Pocus by Focus. But just when you see like John Hamm and firing his rifle and like the rounds going off to the drum beat, it's just so cool. So brilliant.
Yeah, that part's amazing. Any point where they can like set action to a drum beat, like closing a flip phone, the gunshots. It's great stuff. And it's never just as simple as like, cut on like a downbeat or something. They're able to vary like shot lengths and action on the screen. And man, it's an editing masterclass. It's the perfect fusion of what's happening audibly, what's happening on the screen. And just the way cinema is able to take, all these disparate elements and turn them into something cohesive. This is the movie that I used to I had a class where we were learning like different editing styles, and so we had to write up a paper about them, and this is the one I used for match cuts, because the shot where I think it's like either a record is spinning or something, and maybe it's a coffee cup, and then it cuts to he's holding a pizza in his hand, and it's got the same shape, and then it cuts to him ringing the doorbell with the same shape. Just so much of that. It's got ones where, like you were talking about, where they in Scott Pilgrim move across, and you've got kind of the same setup. It's got, Baby standing in one spot, and then match cut to he's exact same place, or stance, and
but just
same
little details. Little details like his coffee run, like after the opening scene, where like you get the lyrics from the song on the walls and stuff, and like him just interacting with various objects again within the confines of the song. It's just
like the trumpet.
Really, it's clever how like the levels of reality kind of blend together.
What was the other? Oh, there's a point where a coffee pot is like picked up off the whatever you call a coffee pot thing, the thing it sits on, and it's placed on the table. And like, it's not one I ever would have thought about needing to be in the film, but just he takes all these very subtle, match shots all across the film that just keep visual cohesion, make the transitions like just beautiful to look at visually and fun to watch for. And like I cannot say enough about the editing of this film, and the song selection's fun. And then on top of that, you do have, it's always good when you have criminal characters that are fun and charismatic, and John Hamm fits the bill here for that. He's kind. He likes Baby. He likes indulging him, listening to his music, and he has some respect for him, even though, they do have their falling out later in the film, unfortunately. On the other side of that, you have the crazy guy, and he's played by Jamie Foxx, which, Kieran, have you seen Horrible Bosses?
I've not seen Horrible Bosses somehow.
Okay. So he plays a guy who he poses as like a hitman, but he's not a hitman. And in this movie, he's playing the character that like Jason Sudeikis thinks that Jamie Foxx is in that movie. Jamie Foxx is just a complete psycho, wild card. Anything that goes wrong in this movie, it's all because of Jamie Foxx.
Yep. That's how it works.
Yeah. And he's great.
But Jamie Foxx...
He's very good in this movie.
Jamie Foxx is like a particular kind of psycho, but I think John Hamm is another kind of psycho. I think he's absolutely terrifying, like that final act, just that switch, when he loses his loved one, and it's just like, okay, all bets are off now. He's like feral now.
Got to ask the question quickly, because this is a musical. What is our favorite piece of music included in the movie?
I've already said Hocus Pocus by Focus.
I mean, it's hard for me to not say Bell Bottoms. That is a really This is how I found that song. It's great. This is one of those movies where I could just listen to the soundtrack.
Yeah. I will go for a slightly offbeat pick and say for personal connection, "Unsquare Dance" by Dave Brubeck, which is the jazz piece that he's listening to while Kevin Spacey's outlining the plan, and they're like, he's not even listening. It is off.
The piano,
and that's because Dave Brubeck was a favorite of my grandpa, and when he passed away, we actually played Dave Brubeck at his funeral. We played Take 5. So there's a personal connection with Brubeck there.
That's cool.
But it's also really fun when he used to do it live. There was an extended version of that track, and it's sometimes known as the clapping song. So like my mum grew up with it in the car, and the main rhythm of the ding ding ding. And you clap along with it, and he switches all the instruments over, and it's trying to follow on and keep the rhythm going. And there's live things of them playing it, and it's like a 5-minute version. And it starts, all the orchestra start clapping, and as it goes on, you can hear the clapping get less and less as everyone drops out and drops out and drops out until you've got like a couple of the hardcore still going with the rhythm. It's a really beautiful piece of music, and it came on. I'm just like, yes, yay! It's like, was not expecting that, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
All of the music is diegetic because of Baby having. So he originally was just a car booster. He would steal cars, and he'd take the iPods in them, and they're the old ones too, the old classic video iPods, and nanos and stuff like that. And he has different ones with different songs. So he has to pull it out and say, "Yeah, Brighton Rocks. It's on this one." That's how we'll listen to it.
By the way, we both all know where...
Someone's randomly singing outside my house in the street, and I'm just trying to work out where it's coming from.
It's from the movie, right? We both know where the term iPod comes from, right?
No. Is it from Snow Crash?
No. 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, okay.
So the open the pod bay doors, Hal, the pods. That's what the iPod is named after specifically.
That's fun. I didn't know.
So there you go, movie trivia.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I never caught that there's a Lebowski reference in Scott Pilgrim. This is a league game.
Yes.
Yeah, this movie, I mean, I'm sure it does. I wasn't looking for as many like film references in it. So much as like
I do like the Monsters Inc. recurring gag.
Gosh, okay, yeah. Never mind. Some of them are blatant because they're literally on screen in the in the movie. It's always a little bit weird watching Kevin Spacey movies now. Obviously, but
I mean, I was going to say, it's obviously shame. It's not a shame, I suppose, but obviously he's not in the films he used to be anymore for obvious reasons.
It's a shame he did the things that he did.
Yeah, because he's a damn good actor.
Because he's so good. He's so good in a role like this, isn't he? I mean, just that kind of slightly scary, completely calm on the surface, but he'll absolutely F you up. Just
pointing out he is literally playing a small-time version of Kaiser Soze. Just pointing it out.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, he's really good in this. He's such a good actor. I forget that he's real villain Kevin Spacey for a couple of hours, but Yeah. Anyway, so baby, he listens to music all the time because he has tinnitus, and occasionally that'll get mixed into the sound design, very subtly, which is a nice touch. And apparently, like the sound designer, he signed on. He got sent like a whole PDF of like all of the music, all of, whatever he needed, and then he was able to like pitch shift sounds and really make the sound design itself cohesive with the music, and just really put that on a different level than just like, well, okay, we're gonna have tinnitus in it, but we also want it to like match in pitch, like that's a fun detail.
Yeah.
And baby, he lost his parents in a tragic accident, so he has a deaf foster father, who still like he can feel music or whatever you call it whenever you're deaf and you're experiencing music, and he enjoys that
for the vibrations.
Yeah. And he's a great character too. They communicate in sign language. He knows what baby's up to, and he's
Yeah, he's sort of like baby's kind of angel on his shoulder, isn't he?
it's a moral grounding for baby, and kind of a reason to do what he's doing too, because he has to take care of him, the way that he used to take care of baby. And Kieran, you're talking about in Scott Pilgrim, it's boom, 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 boom. This movie is a lot better, in my opinion, in terms of having the downtimes. Even if there's music going on or something happening, because that's what baby's reality is. It has the moments with Lily James, who's Deborah. That's it. There's 2 different Deborah songs. I should remember it. She's a waitress in a diner, and he goes there to eat, and gets to know her throughout the course of the film, and they kind of they are called Bonnie and Clyde, actually. I was gonna say that they sort of dream of going into a Bonnie and Clyde sort of on the road, just listening to music, driving off into the sunset scenario. Very romantic vision of a classic movie couple. That they can't.
I like how the final stretch, it seems like that's where it's going to be going. They're going to be on the run from now on. But like, it's him who makes that decision. It's like, no, I can't drag you into that. I will take my punishment, for my part in this.
Yeah. Well, and
obviously shows like growth
and somebody decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to actually reveal that he has a name. And I won't say it because I absolutely hated that. Like, why? There is no need for this.
Why'd you hate that, Kieran?
It does nothing for the character, but it was such a cool name. Why is it? Oh, he actually was under a different name. He actually has another name, and it's like the worst, most boring name possible. It's just like,
he could have been called. He could have been called Brian.
Yeah,
Brian.
I think
not needed.
I think it sort of is needed in the sense that the criminals use the code names, and so it would be weird for him to be using his real name as his code name, if that's kind of the whole goal. I mean, I don't really mind it. Baby is. I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's unique and cool. Which Kieran might be frozen. No,
I'm good. No, I'm good.
Physically, he was frozen.
Frozen in thought and contemplation.
It is cool, but it's also a silly name. Like it is good to me that he has a dumb name.
Like that's why it works.
Speak of names, I love it that Jamie Foxx's character Bats, that's his code name, and I just love that derisive way that Kevin Spacey just reveals his actual name. She goes, Leon.
Yeah. Like that works because it's in an important moment. Like it, and if they'd have made it some kind of revelation, then fine. But they just go, oh yeah, at the end, oh yeah, by the way, my name isn't really Baby, it's this. Move on. It's like,
well, I think potentially Kevin Spacey could have used it as part of his threat to us. Because he talks about, he talks about Joe, doesn't he? Talks about his foster dad, and kind of says, and about Deborah, he knows everything about him, and he could have said at that point, I know about you, Miles.
Yeah,
that's a good point. But Kieran, I will fight you on. It's not revealed by. He says, "By the way, my name is Miles." She says, "I think it's cool that your name is Miles. I can't wait to hear all of the songs with Miles in it instead of Baby, which is every song."
I tell you what, she's gonna get a kick out of "I Would Walk 500 Miles."
Yeah, I wonder how it's spelled.
That's a league of 500 X's, I think.
Yeah.
The League of Matthews.
Yeah, their relationship, it does feel real. It's the complete opposite of the other two. You know, Baby, he's not like, I don't know how to describe him. Like, yeah, he's stoic, but there is clearly something socially off with him. You know, he's putting up a front when he's around all of these criminals. Like, he's not a hardened guy. He does have a good heart.
I think I remember. If I can remember writing a review of it, it came out, and I thought that's something like it's his journey from just being like a tool, like a function of their criminality, to being an actual person. You know, he doesn't really kind of have anything beyond what he does for them, you know. But it's like he also learns to be human, like because of her, and you know, and her kind of affection for him.
And maybe that, Kieran, could be a reason for like him getting a name too, is that sort of journey. Because I was thinking about that earlier. Sam, you were saying something, and I was lost in thought of his. He was talking about the end where he decides he's not going to hurt her. Like, yeah, he is sort of just a cipher at the beginning. Like he does have a life. He clearly has an interest in music, but that's really all he is. He's a wheelman who listens to music and is a little weird. Yet he manages to have more charisma than Scott Pilgrim does. And maybe it's because he's quiet. You know, he seems really cool. He's got the sunglasses on, which he carries like 3 pairs of at a time. Where does he have?
Just in case Jamie Foxx knocks a pair off, he can replace it with another pair.
Yeah, he's got space for 3 different pairs of sunglasses and 5 iPods. I don't know how many, earbuds he has. Maybe just the one. But yeah, over the course of the film, his journey is becoming a person, an actual character, and I think the pacing of it's really good too, where you have the first heist, then you have just one more heist, baby, and then we're straight. Which Edgar Wright, I guess, really likes his clarifications. It's not exes or ex-boyfriends, it's exes, and it's not you're done. It's we're straight. Yeah. Because even after the final job, baby is still sort of owned, and he does need to escape from this life. Something's gonna have to change in this last job. Yeah. And there's really good tension in, is baby going to run away now? What's going to happen over the course of this final heist? And how is everything going to get mixed up? How is Deborah going to come into this? And just the pacing of the story, the way it's arranged, it all flows really well too, and really it keeps engaged and has good the ups and downs, and not just in your face all the time with crime and music.
Yeah, it's a really nicely paced film. Everything kind of fits together. I've just seen that El Capitan Joe on TFM did a review of this when it came out, and haven't read the entire thing, but I've seen he's called it La La Land on Wheels. Which not going to disagree with that completely. I can see where that comes from, and I think that should now be how we call this film from now on. It is La La Land on Wheels.
It's a musical for guys.
But I do unequivocally love it. I think it is Edgar Wright's strongest film, and the only reason I've not seen it as much as like the Cornetto movies and Scott Pilgrim is because it hasn't been out for as long. I do watch it, quite regular still, and I just think it's what the gift that keeps on giving. There are so many nice little details to it. You just marvel at the technical mastery and just seeing how it's all been put together, but how seamless the final kind of product is.
Yeah. And it was nominated for Best Film Editing, Best Sound Editing, and Best Sound Mixing at the Oscars. the 90th Academy Awards, and it did not win any of them. But I mean, it should have won editing. They could have thrown it sound editing or mixing, but you know, whatever.
And I do believe it's the only one of Edgar Wright's films that he's considering doing a sequel to at some point.
Yeah, I've got an article from the playlist. So this is literally posted October 31st, so under a week ago. That when he was on in a forthcoming interview about the Running Man for the playlist, so that website, Baby Driver confirmed that a script for Baby Driver 2 exists and offered a candid look at the chaotic machinery, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's just going essentially, the script is there, we're waiting for time and money and funding and, you know, everything to fall into place to try and get everything working again. But there is a script for Baby Driver 2 as of a week ago.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm also seeing Lily James said that I don't know if it's I will definitely be in it or I would be in it. The phrasing is Lily
my
James,
character is in it, whether or not I'm going to be cast as that character.
Yeah, the phrasing is Lily James stated she would be in the sequel. Yeah. Whether that's willingness or that is definite, I don't know. But Lily James, like she's the other, you know, moral grounding aspect of it. And when you compare her to Ramona, you know, because these both are kind of like awkward guy is getting a girl films at their core. Like she also feels more like a person, which in Scott Pilgrim, she is literally a dream girl that he saw in a dream at the beginning of the movie. But Lily James is like this just lady that works in a diner and likes music, and it'd be interesting to see how she grows further in the second film, because she is also pretty thin here, but I mean I would say most of the characters are to an extent.
But there's definitely more room to dig into kind of her backstory, isn't there? I mean, it's not explicit, but there's implications here that she comes from a certain amount of trauma in the past, you know, and she's kind of running from something, you know, she's kind of just trying to, you know, keep things on a level, you know, and hopefully just get a better general quality of life, I suppose. You know, she's not working out of diner out of necessity, not have anything else.
And really, my final thoughts are, I like when he's delivering pizza, you know, just driving the same way he always drives. It's like, whoa, that was fast. And whenever they have to escape the diner and she gets in the car with him and he drives like a maniac to the parking garage, and she's like, oh, so you're not a chauffeur. Like,
noted.
it's so funny. And hats off to the stunt drivers. I mean, maybe Ansel Elgort learned how to do it. I doubt it, but maybe he did. That'd be cool. I love car movies. I love driving fast. You know, this just meets all my sensibilities. Things cut properly to music and fast cars. And it also has that kind of romantic, you know, classic Hollywood sensibility in a sense too. I think.
Yeah, I mean, do you think like a Brit making this kind of movie, think has the right kind of idea about like what makes a good kind of American car movie?
Sure. I mean, because I think it's all based in movies, so it works really well.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was watching like Westerns and car movies when he was.
I think he talks about Bullet and The Driver as particular influences on kind of how he's going to do the action in this, which you can definitely see.
Strangely enough, the foot chase, I almost thought when he's kind of scampering around between the cars, for some reason I was thinking Heat. But maybe that's
musical Michael Mann. That's another way to describe this.
Yeah,
I think most foot chase I end up thinking of Point Break really, but yeah, definitely the shootout in the car.
Edgar Wright definitely has not done anything to do with Point Break ever in his career. Definitely not.
And go check out our Catherine Bigelow episode for more on Point Break.
There we go. We're getting them all in. Edgar Wright has never made anyone fire his gun up in the air and go, ah.
Yeah, but Baby Driver is not just my favorite Edgar Wright. Like, if I were making a personal top, definitely 100, 50, it's in there. You know,
Yeah.
I'd have to see below that.
Is it? Yeah, it's in my top 100. I think when I did a list of like best films of the decade, and it was in there for me. It was in my top 10 of the decade. So yeah, it's a really special film
Oh,
for me.
and also, Kieran, despite there being, hallmarks of it takes place in 2017, I think it has the ability to be timeless through its like
Purely the use of the iPod.
its technology is like so all over the place. Like the way he makes his songs, because Baby's also like a, I don't know, DJ or whatever. He makes these cool little mixtapes, and he's using like very old school tech for it instead of just sitting down at a computer. They watch an old TV, like it's not HD or anything. They don't make like specific references to like it is this year, and there's no like feeling of the era itself. Like I think it is trying to, it clearly takes place in a time, but they're not drawing direct attention to it. Like it just sort of is.
Yeah, and Edgar Wright is somebody that does pay attention to this. I've seen a clip or two of him doing his press tour for The Running Man, where they were saying, we kept, because the book came out in 1982, a lot of the futuristic technology was still fairly analog and clunky. And he goes, we could have just made, and it takes place apparently in 2025. I haven't read the book in ages. But he was saying, we could have just made everything like, sci-fi and floaty and invisible, but we kept quite a bit of it fairly analog and clunky. So you get a kind of almost parallel world kind of alternate timeline clunkiness in the analog technology. So he is somebody that thinks about this and how the tech is representative of a specific time and place.
Yeah, definitely. All right, shall we bring this one home then? And
so this is our last for our last night.
Yeah.
Last night in Soho. Probably it's weird. There we go. There's my tagline in there. We were talking about Tarantino earlier, and everyone, when Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out, went, this is his most un-Tarantino film ever. And I think Last Night in Soho is Edgar Wright's most un-Edgar Wright film ever, because the style we're used to, the kind of the quick cutting, the editing, although there's stuff in there as well, the kind of the slightly jocular nature, even in the darker moments, is pretty much absent for most of this movie. This is not a comedy movie in any way. You'll get the odd little bit of light relief in there because everyone will throw a joke or two in there somewhere, but it's in no way a comedy film. It is the story of a young girl. Names have completely gone for me now, so you're gonna have to help me. That's Ellie. I thought it was, but I'm going. That's the one. Who is moving from the kind of Gloucestershire area, sort of the West Country, which is obviously Edgar Wright's little home place, which is why obviously Hot Fuzz was down there in Gloucestershire. And she goes to London because she's got a scholarship for in the fashion schools. And while she's there, she moves into lodgings on her own above somebody's house, and they're renting out a room above. And she starts dreaming that she's in 1960s Soho, and that she's kind of almost imagining an alter ego played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who's kind of becoming a singer and a dancer and a star, and wearing all these beautiful dresses and hanging out with Matt Smith, who's in it as well. Is Jack, who's kind of going to be her agent and make her a star, and then it all starts to go horribly wrong because everything starts bleeding through, and she starts thinking that bad things have happened to Anya Taylor-Joy's character. There's murder in there, there's knives, there's ghosts that start going through, and she starts losing her mind, and we have essentially a ghost giallo in London, of all places.
I have two questions. One is, as an uncultured American, what is Soho?
It's just an area of London.
It's a seedy area of London, famous for being basically a red light district, really.
Did he
also but it's also it's for the sex shops, but it's also like a bit of a mini subculture of of the music industry, and very cool kind of hit people like Jimi Hendrix and the Stones hung out there over the years and got influenced their music and everything like that. And quite a few clubs and
Yeah.
yeah.
So you go on Wikipedia. It's a district of Westminster, and the city of Westminster, the West
It's,
End of London.
it's next to Chinatown.
Originally a fashionable district for the aristocracy, it's been one of the main entertainment districts in the capital since in the 19th century. So it's got its glamour because that's where all the entertainment is, but obviously with that comes the depravity that is also with it as well. So the two kind of rub up against each other. I guess in the seediness parts, maybe something like 42nd Street, those kind of vibes, but with kind of your cinemas and your theaters and your music halls and stuff going with it. So the two go hand in hand.
Other question, because I do agree that it's giallo, but like, is it giallo? I mean,
it's slightly convoluted mystery. There are red and blue Suspiria neon lights, and there's knives going out. Like,
it's in the border of, like, you have to argue for it for me. Like,
the influence is there, even if you don't call it a straight up giallo. How about that?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I think giallo, a bit like film noir, isn't really a hard and fast kind of genre, is it? It's kind of what's that quote we keep coming back to about porn?
I can't tell you what it is, but I know it when I see it. Something like that.
I don't know what the hell you're on about. So
I would say that, like, you do kind of need to have the black gloves and maybe more direct murder throughout the film.
Murder.
Watching it this time,
record.
Watching it this time through, I was like, I don't know. Like, I had thought it was giallo, but then as it goes on, I'm like, it's really just the lighting and that there are knives, and in the end there is murder. But it even takes a while to, like, get to the fact that there's a mystery. It's not like it starts off that way.
I think it's a ghost story with giallo elements. If kind of like that. And interestingly enough, I've for my PhD, I read a book last week before, by a theoretician called Katie Shaw, that I've now obviously lost all of things. No, called Hauntology: The Presence of the Past in the 21st Century Literature. It came out in 2018. So if you're not familiar with hauntology, typical French philosophers.
That is Kieran's PhD, is hauntology.
Kind of hauntology is one of these theories. You know how, like, in the academia you have like the one or two theories that you have to kind of throw out and then move on from very quickly because you're like, everyone's done it, we're going to try and do something more interesting, but we have to reference it at some point. Like, for me and my stuff, like Freud's uncanny and hauntology is one of those ones I'm going to have to touch upon. Essentially, Jacques Derrida in the 1990s, he was a French theoretician and kind of came up with this playing on the term that time is out of joint, which is from Shakespeare. I can't remember which one. I think it's Hamlet. I think it is, with the ghost of Hamlet on the battlefield. He relates it back to Marx and the spectre of Marx and stuff like that. And essentially, the idea of hauntings being a kind of blurring of time periods. So it's the past, the present, and the future. And Katie Shaw goes on to discuss it that in order to have a haunting, it's not just the past, but it's a restarting of something because you have to return to somewhere. Therefore, it is in the present. It's from the past, but it also implies it can happen again. So it's the future. So to haunt something is to blur timelines together. And just thinking of this and just thinking of ghost stories in general, that a lot of them are time loop stories, just in general. It's got me thinking that this is very much, I may see if I can suffer through hauntology theory a bit more to do something on Last Night in Soho, because you do have the past. It's very much the present. There are times when the past interacts with the present stuff in there. You've got characters that reoccur from these timelines, therefore there's a future element, and all these timelines are kind of shifting. And Edgar Wright is really playing around, and one of the things he does really well is he does kind of let's play with just the reality bending stuff that we can do. I mean, he does a little bit in Scott Pilgrim, I think, where he pulls the cover over and you have the whole kind of stretching thing there. But he plays around, especially with the mirrors that you see a couple of times, and especially the intro to Anya Taylor-Joy. You see her in a mirror, and then it comes the other side. You think, especially of a couple of scenes in Terminator, that they do that, and with especially with Linda Hamilton, where they do something similar, which thankfully for Linda Hamilton works because she has a twin, so they just got a twin in for it. But I was watching it and going, did they do what I think they did? And Edgar Wright has said that he was thinking of it and called, and this is, if you haven't seen the film, you won't understand it, but as soon as you see the film, you'll know why he went to them. Went and called Gary Sherman, who of all things directed Poltergeist 3, because most of the hauntings in Poltergeist 3 are done with mirrors. And so they've played an awful lot with glass and mirrors and stuff like that in order to get the shots in. And so there's a story that he called Gary Sherman up and went, can you talk me through how you did all this stuff? And he went, yeah, sure. And apparently he kind of turned up on set at one point and kind of called to a load of the crew going, hey, Gary Sherman's here. He's going to do like a 1.5, 2 hour masterclass of how he did all the stuff in Poltergeist 3. And I can vouch for this because I've sat through his 2 hour masterclass on all of the stuff he did for Poltergeist 3 at Abattoir the one year. It was great fun. He's a madman.
Yeah. He also did call up the Weasley twins, didn't he, for one shot, you know, where they needed a cloakroom attendant at the club. And obviously, there was not really a mirror there. It was meant to look like a mirror, you know, to do the whole doppelganger thing. And so basically, we know that these two twin actors, we'll get them in and, you know, stand opposite sides of the wall to make it look like it's a mirror effect. I mean, that's it. The dance scene in the club is just... Again, choreography. It's a masterpiece of timing and choreography and how the camera moves. And because the cinematographer, he's the guy who's done Park Chan-wook's films, isn't he? He's a Korean cinematographer, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
But there's like there's footage online of them. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Chung Chung-hoon is the cinematographer. Did Old Boy, Lady Vengeance, Thirst, Blades of Blood, Stoker, but then also did Handmaiden. He did It, Hotel Artemis, Wonka. He did Heretic, and he will be doing The Running Man as well. He also, of all things, I'm just saying, did Zombieland Double Tap. From Old Boy to Double Tap, right?
Everyone's got to pay. Everyone's got to pay the bills, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's this great kind of behind the scenes footage out there of them doing the dance, the dance whole scene, and just the time it's needed, and like him moving with his camera around, on like a rig, just and then the actors perfectly ducking out at the just the right point, and then the other one ducking back in, and just the timing and the just split seconds kind of change the direction required. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, it shows that Colin Gary Sherman for some of these kind of practical things, because he said we're going to have to use CGI for some of it. We don't want to use it as much as we can. Some of the stuff Sherman was doing, there's a shot both in the film Deathline, which they also showed at Avatar, otherwise known as Raw Meat, and there's an amazing moment. Donald Pleasance is kind of this thing. They think there's kind of murders going on in one of the unused subway in London. Turns out there's a Hills Have Eyes cannibal family living underground there.
It's an amazing film. Sorry,
it is, but it's quite funny. They needed this is off tangent, but it's on Gary Sherman, so it's vaguely related. There's an amazing scene in it where Christopher Lee turns up for one scene. And the only reason he's in it is because they kind of called him up and they're like, we need you, somebody to kind of like a grizzled kind of head of the bureau, the police kind of thing. And Christopher Lee went, if I get to square off against Donald Pleasance, I'll do it for free. So they called him for that. But there's a scene in that film where essentially you kind of go around this little kind of hovel where this family are living. They're like miners that got trapped down there and have kind of existence from it. And then it goes around for like a good 30 seconds or so, kind of panning, tracking, and then pulls all the way out and somehow melts through the door on the way out that's in place. And there's a very similar shot at the beginning of Poltergeist 3. I think it's near the beginning of Poltergeist 3. This is where I'm coming back to the mirrors of the practical stuff, where it goes around this thing, and then they pull. The camera's moving around inside this apartment, and then pulls all the way out onto essentially past the ledge of like a New York apartment building, like 30 floors in the air. And essentially, how they did both of them is in the case of Deathline, they attached the camera. There's a little slot, a window essentially in the door, and they stuck the camera in there and literally held the door onto it like that, onto the side, and moved all the way around so they're looking through the slot. And then when it got people to decide to hold the door in place as they pulled it back. And they did pretty much the same thing for Poltergeist 3, where they literally had it on the mirror, moved around, and then literally got people to hold it in place as they pulled back. And they're doing all these practical kind of things where, they'd have a mirror and then it can move back so that in just like as somebody walked past, like the mirror kind of moves with it. So it looks like nothing's happened, but then they've got something on the other side. So they can change it like that because there's no CGI. So you can have like a demon appear in the mirror or not. And weird things like that. And I'm not quite sure how they did the Anya Taylor-Joy reveal because she's on both sides of the glass. And I thought one would be a stunt double, but it looks to be both. So I don't know if they did most of it and then did a little bit of CG to get it. But all these practical things really show his influence of kind of looking to random places in film history and not the obvious ones. Not just for kind of influence like that, but the practical stuff. And wanting to do it practically, and it's those things that I really do like. Because I watched it and went, "Did he call up Gary Sherman for this?" And I looked and was like, "Yes, he specifically did."
Yeah. Of course he did. Yeah. I back when I was on Twitter when this first came out, I tweeted Edgar Wright with a question about the film, and he replied to me, which I'm still really.
What was the tweet and what was the reply?
I asked with the dance hall scene with Anya Taylor-Joy and Matt Smith's kind of dance. I said, "Oh, this reminded me a bit of the famous Rich Man's Frog dance from Sweet Charity," which I knew he was a fan of because he's mentioned it in interviews before as one of his favorite musicals. I said, "Were you influenced by that sequence for this scene?" And he said, and it says it's sort of not directly, but I'll take it. That scene is amazing.
There is a little bit of Pulp Fiction in there as well, I think. Which he got from Aristocats and other things. And there is a moment in that scene where Matt Smith grabs Anya Taylor-Joy's hand and goes, "Come along." And Sam will agree with me. There's an instinct to put Pond right after that from Doctor Who because that was his thing. Come along, Pond. I had to stop myself.
Kieran,
it's so funny.
Tweet at him and ask him if the Aristocats was an influence on it.
But that scene's the actual scene. Yes, it's like the Aristocats, but there is another scene earlier on in some film which is pretty much exactly the same, and I can't remember what it is that he literally lifted and shoved it in there because this is what Tarantino does. People will use influences. Tarantino will literally just take scenes and shove them in.
Yeah. We should probably mention that this was Diana Rigg's final film, and also it turns out Terence Stamp's final film. And I love that they went to effort to take these two icons of film from the 60s and put them in this film about the 60s, obviously, but in their kind of after they've lived a full life, it's and how the stories and conversation with those characters, in two different time periods. It's really fascinating.
Eloise is obsessed with the 60s. She's she's like, I don't know, what do they call people who I can't think of the name for it.
Nostalgic.
She is nostalgic. She's not like a hippie or anything. She's really into like the chic, culture that Sam you were talking about when discussing Soho. Like she likes the cool aspect of it.
I mean, she's introduced with a record going in her room where she's wearing a dress she's made from newspapers.
Again, Edgar Wright setting out stall earlier with like a killer like music track, and just says so much about the character.
Yeah.
I tell you what, you never heard Downtown made so haunting in this movie. It's so good.
By the way, I would never have expected to have a Cilla Black song in such a cool movie. Cilla Black was all things she was never cool in the slightest.
No.
I mean, she was a singer in the 60s, but me and Kieran would know her as a TV presenter, in the 90s, early 2000s.
That's amazing. I really only know her from this movie, and I guess whatever songs she had that are in like the cultural zeitgeist that I know of, but didn't know that it was her.
I mean, she was a significant figure at the time because she often crossed over with like the Beatles story as well. Their early years, they were kind of like the same kind of areas, doing the same gigs and the same struggles, to break through basically in London.
If you're an American '60s weeb, whatever the word is, you're into the Beatles. So it's interesting to see like what a British teenager obsessed with the '60s would be like.
And Cilla Black was from Liverpool as well. Ended up in London.
But yeah, I think that with all the style and stuff like this, the film really gets going sort of halfway through, because there is a bit of build up, and I like the fact that they take the time to do the build. This is a film which a lot of people would have cut a good 15-20 minutes off, and theoretically you could cut a good 15-20 minutes off, and not much of the plot would have changed that much. You can condense it.
She doesn't need to be in the dorm, for example. She could have just moved straight into the apartment, I guess.
Exactly. And stuff like that. But
by the way, I seriously relate to that, because when I first went to uni, I had such a horrible time living in student halls of residence in my first term. I couldn't wait to get out of there and find my place.
Sam, I'm the exact opposite. I was Jocasta, basically. That's what my dorm experience. What do y'all call them? Not dorms. What's the British term?
Halls of residence.
Halls of residence. Okay.
In halls, yeah.
That's
halls,
so proper.
Student halls, yeah.
Oh, student accommodation, whatever it is.
We can't even say the whole word dormitory. We got to cut it down.
Yeah. The Americans.
You don't say like
dorms.
Maybe Australians would say like, yeah, I'm in Rizzy.
Okay, we're never doing that again. Please, if we never do an Australian film ever again on this podcast to anybody else out there, you know why. It's not because we don't like the Australian film industry. It's because this occurs.
I do really like that she's a fashion designer, because it reminds me of Blood and Black Lace. If we're bringing it back to Giallo.
And I can probably guarantee you that was an influence in there somewhere. Because again,
Edgar Wright.
Blood and Black Lace last night in Soho fashion designing. Coincidence?
I didn't think about that, actually.
Yeah. Well, he will have done.
I wonder how much is just like stuck in his subconscious, and he doesn't think of it as like a direct reference.
You'd be surprised. You look at stuff after and go, "Oh yeah, I guess so." There's some stuff that is there and some stuff that isn't. Yeah. It's interesting. Also interesting that this is so far. Maybe a fistful of fingers. I don't know. We haven't seen it, but of his main stuff, Shaun the Dead onwards, this is the only one with a female protagonist.
Yeah,
and also a female co-writer. I mean, I think we should give Christy Wilson Cairns her dues with this one, because a lot of the experience of Soho, the working in the the student bars and stuff like that, is based on her actual experiences, and I think she really brings like that kind of perspective of a woman struggling in that kind of world, to try and break through and be noticed, but also all the kind of the generational trauma of like, the swinging 60s were cool, and there were lots of interesting things about it, from music and everything like that, but also lots of dark stuff happened there as well, and the forgotten stories, and
there's even just
things buried under buildings and under
literally under the floorboards.
There's even the subtle aspects of like the sexism that Eloise faces. Taking out the Anya Taylor-Joy stuff, like just those little day-to-day. Oh, how you doing, beautiful? Sorry, I'm butchering your accents now.
Don't worry, that's allowed to be butchered.
Those scenes, like
along those lines, when she gets the cab in the first place, she gets out and there's a shot of
that really
pulling up, which annoys me on a double yellow line. Which annoys me.
I was going to say that really, really creepy cab driver.
Yeah, pulls up on a double yellow light, and there's a shot literally of the kind of the bottom of the car as he pulls up, a shot of the wheel and her feet getting out. But that is mirrored. There's another shot where Anya Taylor-Joy gets out of Matt Smith's car later on. It's pretty much exact same shot on the other side. So again, it's just these very small things that are being kind of visually mirrored, if nothing else, connecting the two kind of places together. The idea that we think everything's kind of buried in the past, it's really not. It's still there. The darkness still lingers, and we don't really move on from things. Because London's such an old place, it's been around for a good 1,000 years or so, at least as we know it. The stuff is still there, as they say, this is London. Everybody's died in every room, in every house in the place, and that's probably not far off.
I mean, I love that line and that idea of what is a ghost, and though I don't personally believe in it, I think if there is anything like ghosts, it's something for me. It's something like that. It's like what almost buildings like stone, ancient stone, like retaining something, like some kind of like energy, of like what's happened.
This is the stone tapes. This is why in ghostly kind of investigating and stuff like that, you have intelligent haunting and residual haunting. Intelligent is we have agency. Residual is just the past being replayed, and sometimes the residual is known as stone tape theory from Nigel Neal.
Wait, there's a Christian. Sorry, this is way off topic, but there's a Christian movie called The Crying Stone or something, which is about getting the crucifixion of Jesus out of a rock, like listening to it. I didn't realize there was some sort of basis for that.
Yeah, so essentially, the stone tape is what John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness is based off. And Nigel Neal also wrote an original treatment for Season of the Witch, which they rejected, but still named the university in Prince of Darkness Neal University. And Nigel Neal's like, I don't think this movie's any good at all. He's still bitter about Season of the Witch. But he also kind of started he did Quatermass Experiment, which is probably what he's kind of best known for, but also started off the BBC Ghost Story for Christmas things, kind of unintentionally by doing an adaptation of M.R. James' A Whistle Will Come to You, My Lad. Anyway, some of those stuff probably actually Edgar Wright will have seen and known and probably watched when he was younger. There's a new one coming out this year. I'm very excited. Anyway, all this stuff bleeding in. I really like the film. Yes, there are kind of. I mean, Jacob, earlier today you raised issues with this film of kind of. Where is the morality kind of drawn?
Yeah. Is it turning all of these 60s sex offenders into victims?
In a weird way, I'm going to draw a parallel. This is an adult, like it's a lot worse, but in theory, the principle of the same of kind of ghosts of bad people being held and need to be set free, and how long is a punishment worth it? I will draw a parallel to Paranorman.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I can see that.
And say that, the crime's obviously bad, but this is an adult movie as opposed to a family-friendly animated film. The principle is the same of somebody holding these people to account, and after a certain point, how much is too much?
Because spoiler alert, Diana Rigg is the older version of Anya Taylor-Joy's character.
Sandy.
And turns out, Yeah. She one day she snapped. She'd had enough being passed. She'd had enough of. She snaps and she'd had enough being passed around and being abused. And she killed a lot of men. She lured back to her, to her house.
Matt Smith says, "Oh, I'm gonna get you," and like in the wake of Me Too, like there's definitely some kind of industrial commentary where he says, "I'm gonna get you in the biz," and then you go to the club and it's just a bunch of old men watching the dancers and whispering, and then hiring her for sex work, and
it's just Babylon.
There is, obviously, like it's on the side of the people, like the guys who are creeps are bad, and it is pro Eloise and justice for Sandy, and it's probably a good for her movie. But there is just a little bit where you could read that what the film is actually about is, well, these guys who hired a sex worker are also victims because they got murdered. But I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy is just completely dehumanized. Her name doesn't matter. She's changing it every night. and nobody cares about her, and she's trapped in a just horrible reality, and not able to become Cilla Black.
And I mean, I think this is again part of Edgar Wright's thing that we're mentioning. I think a number of years ago, somebody on YouTube, it might have been somebody like Ryan Hollinger, who does a load of YouTube kind of video essays, a lot of on horror stuff. He's got a decent following, probably about sort of a couple of 100,000 subscribers or something along those lines. He called it de-romanticization. That goes through a lot of things, and I think this is what's happening to London. The idea, I mean, when she's going off, her grandmother goes, London changes people. It's not a good place, and the idea that kind of when you get there, the city kind of in a very sort of romantic and with a capital R sense that the city is an antagonistic force in itself. Yes, there are good things, but it will corrupt pretty much anyone. And I think at a certain point, that's by the end that there are no good or bad people in there, possibly aside from Eloise, who we're kind of meant to sympathize with. But everybody has done bad things. Everybody also deserves a little bit of pity and sympathy in some way because the city builds that up. I think you can read it in that way as well.
Because Sandy's kind of rage has completely kind of misshapen and corrupted her over time, hasn't she? She's just like...
and sort of at the end, kind of, you get glimpses of Anya Taylor-Joy kind of when she was back as kind of initial Sandy, going through to Eloise, kind of the dead character that is there, where they do an Obi-Wan Kenobi. They were dead in a way, kind of thing there. But she's kind of pleading to Eloise, you have to go, you have to live, leave me. Like I've done my time and all that kind of thing. So there's a guilt. Is it good? Is it bad? Kind of thing. And I think that's really kind of the point of the film. You go here, Jocasta's an awful person. There's really only kind of two decent
Jocasta's
characters.
Just vain and shallow. Is she awful?
It's a symptom of London and city life, and just she is by the accent compared to Eloise, who is clearly an outsider.
Wait, is Jocasta from London based on her accent?
She's not from London. She's from Manchester, but it's still a city. She's a city girl, and the idea is that the city can corrupt.
For me, they're just all British. I know they're different, but I couldn't tell you where they're from.
This is why we are here to educate.
I mean, we don't know Jocasta's from up north from her accent. Because it's in dialogue, isn't it?
Okay.
But it's a very kind of stereotypical. It's not sort of Eloise's accent from the set from Gloucestershire, kind of like this. It's more seen as like a farmer's accent, kind of the country bumpkin kind of stereotype, which is why when you watch Hot Fuzz, they all have that kind of accent. You're all right because it's seen as a more farmland kind of perhaps lower class working class farm. These kind of people.
It's like Cockney.
It's not even under kind of
it's in terms of like social whatever.
Yeah, there is the accent marks her out as a social other and from a rural area, and therefore more of a country bumpkin, perhaps an innocent sort of.
I mean, Terence Stamp in this has the classic Cockney accent, doesn't he? And that's because he's been there for so long. He's part of the city, isn't he? He's kind of
But kind of the city and
his death gets me. Like the twist with him is even better than Diana Riggs the killer, where Terrence Stamp was the good guy all along. Not a creepy pervert.
But even he is a creep, and at the same time you're like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like everyone, and like I think what I got out of this film this second time of watching it is that there are very few like redeeming, aside from Eloise and her boyfriend, whose name I've forgotten. Everybody else is kind of completely corrupted by the idea of the city, of the bright lights, and that wears you down and reduces you to a kind of dark pit of rubble by the end of it, where there are no bright lights downtown. It's all kind of gone, and it's last night in Soho.
Is it last night or is it the last night?
Ooh, but the emphasis is on night, obviously. And I liked this one before, and watching it again. Out of the three films we've done, I preferred this the most, and not just because it's the horror one. It's because it's got a bite to it I think the other two films here
Mm.
lack in a certain way because there is a comedic element to it, and yes, there are serious things in it, but it doesn't have the full kind of we're going all the way, and it's very different from the stuff that Edgar Wright had done before, and so he almost went, let's do something different and let's go the whole way, let's just go all out and make it dark. And it is a very, very dark film. You know, in not necessarily in the cinematography, but in kind of the feel and the vibes and the stuff they're talking about. It's quite
the subject
even at the end. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I say, I'm not one of these people who cuss out any of this because I think every as a minute it just helps that atmosphere, kind of that pervasive atmosphere, just seep into you more and feel everything, you know, that bit deeper, you know.
Yeah, and also like this film and Baby Driver, if we're setting aside the documentary, I mean those are his two most recent films before Running Man, and it'll be interesting to watch that in the context of, is he perhaps moving on from, you know, the comedic sort of, I don't know, emphasis, and after, you know, Running Man, what is his, you know, original work going to look like going forward? I'm very interested to see
Baby Driver
that.
2, surely.
Oh yeah, Baby Driver 2. Setting that aside, you know, things that are not sequels. Although I'm now excited for Baby Driver 2.
Yeah, I mean, Running Man, judging from the trailer, will still have a bit of comedy in it, and I mean,
Glenn Powell's charming and funny. He's gonna have one-liners, I'm sure.
I mean,
It's gotta have levity.
Most Stephen King stuff, there's always a bit of humor in there somewhere. There's very few Stephen King stories that are completely bleak. I remember when Full Dark No Stars came out, the collection, A Good Marriage is in there, and also A Big Driver, and 1922, and there's another one in there. I can't remember what it is. But in the introduction, he goes, most of my stories have some kind of comedic element in it. The reason I've lumped these two together and called it Full Dark No Stars is because these are very few stories where I have almost no kind of ray of hope in there at all. They are very depressing. So Running Man will still have an edge. It'll still have a flow. It'll still have like an actiony vibe, a fun, action-packed kind of thing. So that will be returning more to a Baby Driver sort of vibe, and even a Hot Fuzzy kind of vibe, which obviously had his action sequences in there.
Yeah.
After that, again, he said that he might do another Peg and Frost movie, and if he does do another Peg and Frost, that's not going to be completely no comedy at all, because you can't put those two together and not have some comedic interaction.
It should be just a straight serious drama, which I think Simon Pegg has the chops for.
They should just do.
It's not going to happen.
They should just do their version of Waiting for Godot.
Oh
If Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter can do it, I think Peg and Frost can do it. Directed by Edgar Wright.
That would be amazing.
But
think of the whip pants.
Yeah. between two guys on a park bench.
The match cut. God, it'd be incredible.
I will still say that you were talking about match cuts earlier. I still vote best match cut in Edgar Wright's filmography is the clunk on the head in Hot Fuzz 2, him sitting down on the sofa, because it's perfectly matched up. Like, you watch it and every time you just go, oh, that's just like, technically there's not a frame out. It's gutturally just beautiful. Like,
we all think of the Bone in 2001. I wonder what the first match cut was.
Probably from somebody from like 1904, which everyone is now going to claim that Griffith invented.
Yeah, we'll come back with an answer at some point.
Yeah. But Soho and Baby Driver, they're my two favorites for sure. So.
Yeah. They're the two best. I mean, Scott Pilgrim is still very much a favorite. You know, it's just an easy watch for me. You know, I always enjoy it. But yeah, the other two are kind of a higher level of filmmaking, and as I keep saying, you know, a sign that his kind of abundance of style is a purpose. More so.
I think Scott Pilgrim is a vibe film, and if you caught it at the right time to vibe with it, then you're always going to vibe with it, if that makes sense.
It possibly helps that I was Scott Pilgrim's age when I watched it. When it came out.
By the way, while we did this episode, I corrected the Wikipedia article, which listed him as 23. In the film, it expressly says on screen that he is 22.
We are doing our work for future generations.
He's 23 in the comic, apparently.
There we go.
I love Wikipedia editing. All right. Any final thoughts on Soho? This has been a very long one for us.
It has, yes. But
It's
you
been,
know,
it's been good. It's been good to
Oh.
discuss this film. Plenty of food for thought, and I can't wait to see what he does next.
yeah, food that is not cornettos.
Yes. Wait, Cornettos are a food? I was
They're an ice cream.
picturing the kind of trumpet.
So there, it's
No.
it's
It's an ice cream. It's an instant ice cream. It's it comes in like a wrapper shaped like a cone, and you unwrap it, and it's got like a ice cream layer, then a chocolate layer, then a wafer layer.
Yeah. It was originally in there because it used to be Edgar Wright's hangover cure, which is why it's in Shaun of the Dead as a hangover cure.
Yeah.
And then it was in Hot Fuzz, and somebody asked, "Is this going to be a trilogy now?" It's like, oh, I guess I've got to make it a trilogy.
Yeah.
All right.
Which is the only reason why the Cornetto wrapper is at the end of The World's End.
I need to go rewatch those two also. It's been a very long time.
Yes.
But yeah, I'll do that after we are done, because we are done here. We'll be back next week with something else. But until then, guys, where can people find you?
You can find me at SSP Thinks Film and at the Second Cut Pod Substack, where my Frankenstein review is still up. It's out on Netflix tomorrow, so if you've not managed to see it in the cinema, still try and do that if you can. But if see it on Netflix, if you want to as well, to see it any way you can. It's really good. And I've also posted my mini reviews for throughout the month of October. I did 31 Days of Horror, so check out all the range of films I watched of 31 Days last month as well.
Yeah. Hopefully you don't find me anywhere if you do MK Judgmental on the various socials. I don't have anything up, but I do have 2 reviews in the draft phase, so those will be up in the next few days. One of Black Phone 2, which I finally got around to, and one for Shelby Oaks, which was Chris Stuckman's debut, which, considering he was like us and is still realistically like us, aka a dork ranting on the internet about movies, and somehow he's got Mike Flanagan involved to help him produce a horror movie. Like, there's hope for us yet, guys. There's hope for us yet.
And you can find me at Jacob Film Guy. I saw Begonia and am struggling to write a review of it, so I might leave it for Sam. I don't know.
Were you whelmed by the picture, Jacob?
It's not that I was whelmed. It's that, like, I don't know. It's not like the most dense film in the world or anything. Like it I don't know. Maybe I'll rewatch and see how I feel.
Just a lot of Yorgos films are hard to talk about because basically you just want to tell people just go see it, see what you think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it. Yeah, but it's good. Go see Begonia. Good movie.
Okay.
Yep. But thank you for listening. Follow us at Second Cut Pod. Email secondcutpod@gmail.com. Anything else like that. So that's it. Thank you and goodbye.
Adios.
Goodbye.